Have you struggled with questioning your beliefs or having a change in perception around religion and or spirituality, especially around Christianity? I've been there, and there have been some very confusing rough patches along the way. Now, in this moment, I'm in a good place. I actually have been for a few years now. And have moved from a space of searching, more than a decade of searching for answers, trying to figure out what I believed in and my truth, and feeling at peace with that, feeling good about that. And these past 2 years, I've really been more in a space of just expansion, because even when we figure out what we believe in and make peace with it, we're still going to grow and expand and have belief and perception shifts, but the way we go about it is just a little different. Okay, so I'm just going to share a little bit about how I came to be in this space. If you're new to me, my name is Jessica Loper, and I am a spiritual mentor and intuitive guide. And the point of this is to help you to come back to yourself and your inner power. Okay, so if that is something that piques your interest and resonates with you, really coming to that place where you trust yourself and cultivate your own truth and beliefs and inner power, then this may be supportive for you. Okay, so I grew up in a strict religious home. I didn't feel like there was a lot of room for questioning things. I mean, I could ask a question, but the answers were very rigid. Basically, my parents just passing down what they had been taught, right? Which is interesting because they've also been on a journey of a change in beliefs as well. Like, as I became a young adult, they were also transitioning through many of the same, similar, not exact same, we all have our own journey, but going through their own transition and questioning of beliefs. So that has definitely been interesting to witness, especially how I was raised, because they are so different than the people who raised me. I always have to just kind of throw that out there, because if you happen to know them now, this probably isn't the version of them you know, but I mean, the one from my childhood is what I mean. Okay, or maybe you did know them back then, and you've also seen how they've changed. Okay, but this isn't about them. I'm coming back to just, I was raised where, things were just as matter of fact a certain way. This is how you do it. Going to church every Sunday, church activities throughout the week. And if you find some type of church to be helpful and supportive for you, I am not discouraging that. I am just simply sharing how it made me feel. And my experience was, it was kind of a feeling of dread most of the time, to be honest. I even have memories of being very young, around 8 years old, and just feeling like something was off. Like something just felt off to me, and I didn't realize it. And then even as a teenager too, the thing that felt off to me was the position of authority, especially in men, and being raised and being told that the authority came from men in leadership, and that they were not to be questioned, really. Like, it's just kind of, this is the way it is, and these are the rules, and that their authority and word from God was more true than something I could come up with or connect with on myself. Like, it just felt like something outside of me was in charge, if that makes sense. So I think that a lot of people do experience that. I think leadership is important, having people that you can look up to and get guidance from. Maybe it's some type of pastor, minister, bishop, whatever it is, depending on your religion. And maybe there are times where you seek guidance and it is helpful. But I don't think we should ever be discrediting the power that comes from within or putting the authority on a person outside of us. I really, truly, 100% believe that we can have a pure, direct connection to God ourselves without going through another human being to get it. And I think that was the very misleading thing growing up that felt very, very off to me. Something just did not feel right about that. And that's what it was. And as a child, like, I could not put that into words. But that's what it was, you know? And then also, you know, getting to be a teenager and just wanting to, like, just see another side of things, another side of life, outside of what I had been taught and raised in, because it was rather restrictive, just around the rules. So just to give you a general idea, like, Sundays were at home with the family, going to church. We weren't really allowed to do certain things like, you know, water sports or watching a movie or playing with friends, or, you know, Sunday was just about church and church things. You know, you could watch a church video or play a board game that was somehow related to religion, you know. And we did have some good times with family on Sundays. And that's actually something I've kind of passed on with my children, is that we have Sunday be a family day, but we've chosen not to restrict certain activities. It's a family day regardless of, you know, what we feel like doing. If we feel like going to the river or riding motorcycles or whatever it is, like, we're spending time as a family, but we're not super restrictive on what we're doing. And I think, you know, every family's got to decide what they want to do. But so, I mean, there are some things that I've kind of carried on in some ways, and I like having a family day on Sunday. But I don't know, just as a kid, especially as a teenager, I dreaded Sunday. I hated it. You know, here we have to go spend hours at church and feel like we weren't allowed to do anything the rest of the day. And that's at least how it felt, right? Not being allowed to have coffee or tea or alcohol or watch an R-rated movie. What else? I'm just trying to think of, like, the things. Not that these are necessarily bad things to abstain from, right? And as an adult now, I see it differently. I've had my own journey with alcohol, with it being so taboo. No sex before marriage, things like that were just really, really ingrained to me. But they were ingrained into me to the point where it, like, made me want to do everything I wasn't allowed to do as soon as I was 18. I just wanted to move out and do everything that I wasn't ever allowed to do. Not that I would have been doing that at that age, but it was just like this weight of, like, if you're doing those things, you're sinning, right? I don't know. It was very restrictive. Like, and with my own kids, like, I think those are a lot of good values and roles. Like, I don't think alcohol is ever a great thing for anybody. It's just my personal belief based on what I've experienced with it. Right. But, like, with my kids, I'd rather have an open conversation with them about alcohol. I'm not ever going to tell them, oh, you're not allowed to drink this. You're a sinner if you drink it. You know, we're going to have a different conversation. It's going to go a different way. Right. You know, and if they're curious, but I'm not going to shut down or try and force them to believe a certain way. But if they ask my opinion, I'll give it. But, and that's just one example. Like, there's many things that, like, I can see. a lot of the values and rules, like, they meant well. I just don't think that the delivery was in a way that really stuck. It just felt restrictive and made me want to rebel, I guess. And I did. When I was 18, I moved out. I got away. I purposely wanted to move away so that I could just not go to church and nobody would know. Well, they did know because eventually people told on me, but I just wanted to go be free, do what I want, live what I want, not be under the restriction of the rules that I had been raised with, But I also felt like I had to hide that I was doing these things, like there wasn't an open conversation about it at the time. So, I did. I went out and played and did all the things I wasn't supposed to do. Found myself in a situation with a problematic relationship with alcohol. I'm now 40 years old and almost 14 years sober. So my sobriety journey has been very intertwined with just my own healing journey of self-growth. And getting sober is actually kind of what brought me back to spirituality to begin with. So it ended up being a good thing, because when I was 18 and really distanced myself from religion, I really cut myself off from that connection to God or source or whatever you want to call it. And just wanted nothing to do with that, and I really did things the hard way without connecting or seeking any kind of guidance from something greater than myself. That, divine connection. Right. So I really cut myself off for that. It was like, if I couldn't be a part of this religion I was raised in, I didn't want anything to do with any kind of religion or spirituality of God of any kind. Right. And I think that that's a normal phase for a lot of people. Like, if you've been there or you're going through that, or you're like, maybe there is something else out there that I can connect with that will help me. And I don't think everyone goes through that phase, but that was just my experience. So if you've had something similar or are going through something similar, you're not alone. But actually, it was getting sober and realizing that I needed to get sober. I realized that my life would never get better unless I got sober. For me, I didn't know if I was depressed because I was drinking or drinking because I was depressed, but I was certainly not happy and my life was going nowhere. So, and I was tired of feeling sick all the time and hungover all the time. That's not a fun way to live at all, right? I wanted to feel good. And I wanted to change my life. And I did go to AA for about 18 months, and that was supportive short term. It did help me to seek out, a higher power and what that meant to me. And I worked the 12 steps, and that was a good wake up call for me. And it got me back to connecting, got me back to wanting more and shifting my beliefs and loving myself more, right? Because really what getting sober was me loving myself and choosing to take care of my body and my mind. I didn't realize that it was also going to take care of my soul, but it did. So yeah, that's just was a part of my journey. And from there, I started to just read a lot of books, trying to just search for answers. And really, I think after a couple years into it, I kind of started to look back at Christianity, because I was raised in a Christian home. So obviously, when I went through this stage of just cutting off all things religion, spirituality, God, I also cut off anything related to Jesus as well, right? So I spent a couple years, reconnecting with like God and loving myself more and trying to find that, spiritual and soul connection again. And it felt really, really good to me, but I was avoiding the topic of Christianity or Jesus just in general. Like I just didn't even want to go there. It like almost gave me the ick, right? Kind of gave me this icky feeling, like I just was not drawn to it. And it's like I was almost like I was afraid to even look at it again. I don't know why. Maybe because I think it brought up feelings around guilt too. Because I think the way I was raised, there was this pressure to be perfect and clean and worthy, and it put a really heavy layer of guilt on me that was ingrained. And I kind of associated anything around Jesus with trying to be perfect and not sin. And it was really hard for me to even look at or think about Jesus in a way that wasn't making me feel like a guilty sinner for not seeking him anymore, right? So it was weird. It was a weird, weird space to be in. And I kind of sat with that. I can't remember how long because it was a long time ago. Probably over 10 years ago. I actually remember driving home from work and I was commuting at the time. And I just remember this moment of clarity with driving where it felt safe. It just was this feeling of like, it's okay to explore this again. And it would actually feel really good to be honest with myself and let myself face that and explore that again, So that kind of moved me into just a space of being open. Okay, I'm open to looking at this, and I don't have to decide what I believe in to just be open. So, and I think it probably started with just a prayer. Just, God, this is something I'm struggling with. I don't know what I think about Jesus, but I would like to explore it and I'd like some help. And, I'm ready to go there. What it didn't do is it didn't bring me back to Christianity. Interestingly enough, it brought me back to Jesus, but it was in a way that is not what I was raised with, right? It was very, very different and it felt good to me. So I think the universe connected me with some books and some people that just would help me, and I can't mention them all. I can't remember them all. And actually, not all of them even resonate with me anymore. And that's the funny thing. You can read a book that really, really helps you. Or maybe it's even some type of guru or influencer or something that shares with you and it resonates with you in the moment. And it's like what you need in the moment to get to the next thing, but then you get to a point where it doesn't really resonate with you anymore at all, but it still helped you get where you are. Does that make sense? Okay. So there were definitely some things that helped me kind of get there. But I would say I'm going to share with you a few of the resources and books that help me that still resonate with me even, 10 years later, that have really just stuck with me and helped me. And, well, Actually, I didn't even think about mentioning this in this episode, but I kind of did have to go through a phase of deconstructing beliefs around around religion. So I did read some books that I wouldn't really say were uplifting, but it was more like historical facts, like debunking a lot of religious things. So which growing up I had been told was like a no. You don't go and look at anything that isn't, put out by the church or isn't approved by the church, right? Like that's, not allowed. Like they're trying to scare you from doing your own research, basically, which I didn't really see it that way at the time. But looking back, I can realize like, oh, that was just a form of not wanting people to find their own information themselves, right? It kind of comes back to that authority thing of, you can only believe these certain leaders. They know everything. They know what's best for you. Don't do this. Don't do that. Don't go off on your own. You don't get your own answers, right? So you may, depending on if you're someone who was raised in religion and that religion is not sitting well with you, it may be helpful to go find some historical information that gives you like some different perspectives, because there can be a lot of layers of lies and hidden things that might make you understand more on the physical realm of things, right? And that to me is a little different than like the soul searching part. The soul searching part is more about a feeling of truth and peace. But if it's helpful for you, the deconstructing the historical facts, that type of research could be helpful for you. One person that kind of gives a general deconstructing of religion that I've found helpful. I don't really read his stuff a lot anymore. I don't really feel like I need it. I did it at one time. I found it super supportive because as we learn and grow, we go through different phases and we outgrow things. It doesn't mean they weren't helpful, but also doesn't mean we don't need them forever. But Jim Palmer, I found his research, and I think he was a pastor or minister at some time, or maybe he studied religion. I don't know. He came from some religious roots for sure. But he's done a lot of like deconstructing of religion and how the Bible has been distorted. That's another really interesting rabbit hole to go down, is the distortion of the Bible. Is a great deal of it has been rewritten and tampered with in a way to control people. I think there's still some truths there for sure, but I don't know. It's not something I seek at the moment. But yeah, so Jim Palmer, he has a lot of great articles that help with deconstructing some of that, if that is something you need. He's on Facebook. I believe he may have like a Substack or something you can subscribe to, but I've found a lot of what he shared to be a very interesting perception. I can't say I agree with everything that he said, but a lot of it has made sense or, resonated with me. It's just not really the type of path I seek. I prefer to seek more of the actual, what's helping me connect and expand on a soul level moving forward. I don't really feel like I need to debunk anything, right? Does that make sense? Like that's just where I'm at. But depending on where you're at, that may be supportive for you. Or find a book, a book or research specific to the religion that you're struggling with, or you'll find something, right? Okay, so supportive. A couple just books I wanted to mention that have been really supportive are Mary Magdalene Revealed by Megan Watterson, because she really goes into this other like non-traditional type of Christianity in a way that felt really peaceful to me and really honors the divine feminine. And she does get into some of the history of like the Gospel of Mary, which those Gospels were hidden by men who wanted to be in power and wanted it hidden. They didn't want women to know how powerful they were. They didn't want people to know that they were sovereign beings. They didn't want people to know that they had a soul-heart connection, that they could actually lead themselves, that they could actually connect to God themselves without another man doing it for them. right? And that's not to say there aren't men of God that can help people, of course. I think it's all about coming back to this balance of the divine feminine and the divine masculine, knowing that men and women all have feminine and masculine divinity that can be found within them. And there needs to be this balance of the way men and women work together and live and be partners and bringing more balance in the energy, because the strength of the divine masculine and the softness and sometimes fierceness of the divine feminine can be really powerful together, but they've definitely been misconstrued over the years, and hiding the gospel of Mary, and I don't know, maybe other women as well, was a way in which patriarchy, the controlling patriarchy, why am I having such a hard time with that word? You know, came to rule for many, many years. And it's good to wake up to this other side of things. Okay, so Mary Magdalene revealed, it does kind of get into the history of some of that if that interests you. But she also goes into the actual teachings of, being the sovereign self and leading from the heart, expansion of the heart, that we're meant to save ourselves. And really, just Jesus was the example. He was showing us the way. So you can absolutely still believe in Christ consciousness and Jesus, but I don't think that he wanted to be worshipped. I don't think he wanted the form of mainstream Christianity that came about. Jesus was actually trying to also deconstruct religion. Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny? Like, if you're familiar with the Bible and the story, I'm not going to get into too detail because I'm not like a Bible whiz and I will totally say something wrong. But I do remember, like, he wasn't working with the Pharisees or the temples. Like, he was like not going along with those things. He was actually teaching in a way that was helping people to be sovereign. So it is very strange that he somehow became the center of many, many religions when he wasn't like for religion. Isn't that interesting? I don't know. So I think Jesus was teaching us the way. He was showing us the way. He was the perfect example of embodying Christ consciousness. And I think a lot of his teachings got very misconstrued, and a lot of what's in the Bible, it may have started out well, but things have been distorted so much that I think it really tried to twist things in a way that wasn't helping people to connect with their own self and truth and heart. It was teaching them to follow somebody else, right? I mean, we can follow examples of people, but like, I don't think it was meant to be the way that it's come out in religion. Okay, so that book is super helpful. It gets way more in detail on some of like the Christian roots and history and things, and Mary Magdalene's role, because she was actually teaching alongside Jesus, right? She was teaching with him as his equal. They were teaching together, right? And when the Bible was, when the Gospel of Mary was hidden, which it didn't really come, like, I think the first findings of her gospel were like in the late 1800s. I still don't think that's common knowledge, but this book does share some like pieces and excerpts from her gospel, which is very much around the divine feminine and the heart space, and the sovereign self. Let's see, where was I going with this? I was talking about Mary and Jesus. Oh, right. So she was depicted as a prostitute in the Bible, which was man trying to twist things and hide who she really was. Yeah, so I found that book to be just kind of like mind blowing as far as shifting the way I looked at Jesus. And even right on the front of the book, it says the Christianity we haven't tried yet. So I love that. Another book that's really helped me is The Sophia Code by Kaya Ra, which actually has many ascended masters that it brings to light and that come through in the book, and Mary Magdalene is one of them. So there's a chapter on her, but there's also Mother Mary as well. And then there's also other ascended masters that are not like directly linked to traditional Christianity, but have just been really helpful. But it's interesting that I was raised in a strict religious home and being raised in Christianity, and then reading the Sophia Code and feeling really, really drawn to the sections on Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene. So I just found that to be interesting and supportive and helpful for me. And I think all of this just comes back to helping you to just connect with yourself, knowing that it is always okay to question things, question everything, and don't put anyone on a pedestal. Don't put any type of religious leader or spiritual leader or guru or mentor. Don't put them on a pedestal. Don't take everything they say as truth. Like, even anything I've shared today, like, don't take everything I've shared as truth. Like, you question things and you find your own truth, and you find that from within. Yes, can other people be helpful? Can mentors be helpful? Can books be helpful? Yes, but at the end of the day, that true clarity comes from you connecting with yourself, with you realizing you have a direct connection to source, and nobody can take that away from you. Nobody can tell you that you don't know what you know. And sometimes what you know changes, and that's okay. I think there's this belief that, like, once we believe something or find something or whatever it is, that like that's the end all be all, when actually we are expansive, we are learning, and we are growing all the time. And just when we think we understand something, we question something that makes us dive even deeper into our soul journey, deeper into our heart space, and we continue to grow and we continue to find truths. And I think part of that is also being able to see that other people are just where they're at. It's not our job to convince people to believe what we believe or be like us. Being able to respect other people's journey. If somebody else's journey in this lifetime is religion, and that is what makes sense to them and feels good to them, you know what? That's okay. They just need to go about their own path in their own way. And if they have a question or want to talk about something, I'm here and I'm an open book. But I think another part of it for me has been just loving myself and connecting, but also being able to respect where someone else is at, and realizing there's a lot of conditioning in the world. There is a lot, and it doesn't all get unraveled for everyone, and most certainly not at the same time or the same space or at the same age, right? We're all each on our own unique journey, and it's okay that other people are where they're at, and it's okay that we're at where we're at. So I hope you found this helpful, and you're welcome to subscribe if you enjoyed this, or follow me. This is on YouTube or Spotify, so you're welcome to check me out on the other from wherever you're finding this. And comment and let me know what you thought of this, or what your experience has been, if you have something that could help somebody else. If you have any other book recommendations, would love to get some other book recommendations for myself and others, because I'm definitely a forever learner, and I think it's important for us to just find ourselves and find our paths. So thank you for watching. Take care, and you're welcome to tune in for my weekly energy update that I put out at the beginning of each week. So I'll see you there next. Take care.